The Murder Hobo Show presents the Savage Rifter Podcast.
Oh, where are we?
Oh my god, there's a robot!
What? Run away! Run away now! What?
I don't know what's happening.
Where are we?
I don't know.
Oh, it's like we're falling through rips in the time-space continuum.
That's what the walls are.
The Savage Rifter Podcast.
Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show, episode 11. I am one of your hosts, Gary, aka Murder Hobo, and I'm here with none other than world-renowned and infamous riff superstar, DJ Jazzy Diaz.
Y'all ready for this?
What's happening, Victor?
Nothing much, man. As usual, gaming, and a little gaming. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show. Thanks, Gary, for that intro. As usual, this podcast is for the fans and by the fans. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We were just talking about it, me and Gary, a few minutes offline before we started the show today. And we are into, this is episode 11 of Savage Riffs. And God knows how many other Murder Hobo, ICRPG / lovemaking episodes that we have had. So, awesome, dude. Awesome work. I want to say a big shout out to Gary for editing all this stuff because believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, yes, this does take work.
Page 40. Page 39 of 146. I'd imagine once we get through the character creation, we're going to probably skim through quite a bit of the other stuff. A lot of these pages are going to be things along the lines of tables and charts that, we're just not necessarily going to need to go over. And we're just like slow and steady, man. We're punching our way through this book. So this is a podcast all about Savage Worlds riffs. We break down Savage riffs piece by piece so Victor can teach me and you, the listener, how to play, enjoy, and understand riffs. What are we doing today, Victor?
Today we're going to be talking about, of course, the Men of Magic. And we talked about the Leyline Wizard last time. And we are going to be going over the Mystic, I believe, is the next one in line.
Yeah, the Mystic and hopefully the Techno Wizard. We're going to see if we can't sort of just like punch through these bad boys and get them going. The Mystic, I'm hoping she does some kick-ass Priestley Bruce Lee head chop and badass magic spell love. What do you think?
Yes, I think you're right. All of the above and then some.
Fantastic.
Let's head over to the news from the Riffs.
Hi there, Mr. Suit-wearing guy. Yes, that's me. Don't I know you from someplace before? Yeah, I do know you. What's new with you, man?
Well, I suppose I could tell you what's new.
From the Rifts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from the Rifts, I want to give a big shout out to the newest members of the Rifts community, 576 members. Thank you guys so much for paying attention to this craziness that we called Rifts. I love every single one of you on the Google Community Plus page, and you haven't been there, the biggest and baddest community in the land, it is Savage Rifts. So thank you so much. 576, wow. I never thought I'd get to that number. That seems like a whole lot of people.
A ton of stuff, ton of information. It's like your all things one-stop riff shop, which is fantastic. That actually almost rhymed there a little bit.
Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Gary on the mic.
What else is going on? We got the Bundle of Holding has Tabletop Simulator on sale for $10. If you follow my YouTube channel or any of the stuff we're doing on ICRPG, you'll see that I'm heavily involved in Tabletop Simulator recently. I find it to be sort of like your ultimate online 3D gaming tool. It's no rules, no macros, nothing to learn. It's just drop stuff in. There's maybe, let's not say there's nothing to learn, but it's like super easy. So you just imagine yourself standing around a three-dimensional table. You got a cursor with your hand and your mouse, and you're just moving stuff around. It's wicked cool, awesome, well worth the $10. Also reached out to Jody Black to ask if for some riff spoilers. And although she couldn't give me any, she did mention there was 3 books in editing. So hopefully we'll get some new love this year. And speaking of new love, Victor, something came out today.
Yeah, oh yeah, don't get me started, Gary. ICRPG Worlds is out. For those of you who don't know, Gary and I are secretly in love with this new little role-playing game called Index Card role-playing game written by Hanker and Farinell. And he wrote a new book called Worlds, where he creates 3 gaming worlds to play in using this new system. So we're going to be creating a new podcast. Gary and I are going to go venture into a new little project on the side. And we're going to be talking about ICRPG a whole lot in the next coming year. So stay tuned. I'm looking forward to it, Gary.
So much material to talk about. The cool part is, like we were talking before we started the show, there's 3 worlds inside of this. Alfheim, which is your fantasy setting. You've got Warp Shell, which is your space setting. And you've got the new Ghost Mountain, which is this mountain that's been ripped off the earth, and it's in a place between heaven and hell. And it's like a Western. But how we're going to relate this into Rifts is it's just new worlds for you to portal in and out of inside of the Rifts. When the Nexus points open, maybe you could pop in some of these. That was Victor's idea. I just stole it.
And you did it so well.
Thanks, pal.
That's one thing that's it's one thing everybody always asks me about. Like, what happens when my characters or my players decide at the table they want to go through the Rifts and leave Earth and leave Rifts Earth, which is kind of crazy because there's all kinds of fun stuff to do on Savage Rifts Earth. But yeah, you can go dimension jumping into all the different places. So a lot of the books that are in the Palladium history, or a lot of the story that's there, you can't go to on the Savage Worlds because there's no rules written. So you kind of go, freewheeling and free dealing out there when your players decide to go jump into the Rifts or jump into Nexus points into other dimensions. Well, this one, it's not written for Savage Worlds, but there's enough stuff in there for you to go through, and your characters could adventure on the whole other planets for a whole long time before they even come back to Rifts Earth. So check it out if you haven't seen it. ICRPG Worlds. It's out. You can pick it up on Drive Through RPG. You can check out our new podcast. We should be posting that maybe this time next week, Gary.
I would imagine something like that. Hopefully we can get together Sunday night. That's the game plan so far. And yeah, we've got so much to talk about, and I'm so excited because Worlds just looks wicked. They've added so much cool stuff to it, and if you're an ICRPG fan, you're going to love it.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
All right, let's hit the Nexus.
Nexus points.
All right, Victor, the Mystic. Let's do this. Fill my mind with some sweet information.
Ooh, the Mystic. All right, so this is going to be combining all the mystical awareness, the cosmological understanding, and the minor psychic power. This is like all of the Masters of Magic all balled into one. If you ever wanted the ultimate magic user, I would go with a Mystic. I mean, they're pretty much the ones who are in touch with the cosmic forces of the universe. And it's just really great. Really a lot of fun to play because they're almost limitless power. The only thing that's really holding you back is how little energy you have. You have so many options when you start this character out. It's not even funny. So let's jump right into it. We get started with Hero Journey. With the Hero's Journey, you get 5 roles. You get enchanted items and mystic gadgets is one, experience and wisdom is another, and magic and mysticism is one of the 3 tables that you can use. You get 3 roles on any of those tables. You can choose 1 role each table or 3 roles on one table, however you want to do it. Plus, you also gain 2 more roles on any table. So that's 5 roles total, just like most of the other characters that we've seen so far, on everything except cybernetics. So, there's a chance, I'll just pull at random. Okay, 7, close combat weapons. I'm going to get an exceptionally crafting and balance grants your hero a +1 fighting with this weapon. And this result may be applied up to 2 times. So cool. If I want a Mystic who's going to be wielding a Techno-Wizard sword, I can get +1 fighting whenever I use that weapon. So it's going to increase my skill rolls whenever I attack with it hand to hand. Awesome. And that's the kind of stuff that we do in Rifts. I mean, a longsword wielding magic user, yes, it can happen.
You're definitely not a poofster if you're inside of Rifts, that's for sure. You got to be a machine to roll around in these worlds. You've got dragons and robots and power armor and all sorts of things coming after you. The last thing you need to be is dainty. The old Mystic is the sort of the priest class of Rifts, or at least of Savage Rifts anyway, which is always one of my favorites. Usually when I play a game, I like to play the priests, and I go heavy healing and heavy buffs, and I just lay stuff down on people. But that's my style. That's why I'm super stoked about the Mystic. I love playing the healer class.
Yeah, there's lots of fun stuff that you can do, right, with the healer class. You can be, a battler and go right head to head, and or be a tank and sit there and just absorb damage all day long. But the healer or the mystic in this particular case, it uses the arcane background miracles. So, you're right on when this is the cleric class, of D&D. This is the cleric class of Rifts. But just like the Leyline Walker, it can use a lot of the similar powers. I mean, armor, bolt, beast friend, trait, burrow, dark sight, healing, slow, slumber. It not only can be a damage dealer, it can also be a buff. It can also be a tank. It can be a little bit of everything. And to top it all off, mystics are one of the few masters of magic that can take the champion, adept, and holy warrior edges. And that makes them even a little bit tougher. If you know where those are at, check them out in the Savage Worlds rulebook. You'll find that in a separate book, not in the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, but you look those up and you'll see it can really change the way you use that character.
I was just doing that while you were saying that, so that I knew what they do.
Yeah, every single one of them is going to change your character concept. If you're going to take a champion, it's more like a paladin. If you're going to take an adept, it's going to be more like a monk. If you're going to take a holy warrior, it's going to be more like a cavalier. And you get all the mystic powers on top of that from the arcane background miracles and all the 300 spells that they get.
Yeah, I was just checking it out. You're exactly right. Champions are holy or unholy men or women chosen to fight for a particular deity or religion. They seem to be your heavily armored paladins and stuff like that. The monks. Could you imagine being like an old school monk in a brown robe with that back part of your head missing? Your hair, not your head. You're just walking around, and then all of a sudden you power armor up and just start laying down some like kick-ass spells. Nobody would see that coming.
That would be awesome.
Gotta have faith. Channelers of spiritual energy. Mystics, you said they get the miracles. There's a blurb in here about they have an inherent gift they can take. I need to back up as they can reach out to the spiritual world to seek answers, and they can pinpoint supernaturally evil beings. That sounds super interesting, and I'm sure that we're going to get into that when we start to see what stuff they can do. Says on the next page here on 40, they can choose any trappings for their powers except necromantic. Oh,
yeah. So of course these guys are going to be your holy warriors. So they're like paladins. You're not going to get a lot of them that are into black magic or necromancy, controlling the undead and that kind of stuff. These are the guys that you want fighting those kind of monsters.
Gotcha. So they can, they get some stuff here, although we're not really, gotta have faith. So what does it say? Celestial silver. For an offensive effect, a celestial silver trapping counts. Oh, these are trappings. That's sweet.
Yes, these are unique trappings that are given to the mystic that anyone can use, but you can gain access to these particular trappings to be able to change your spells or change your abilities. Yeah, go on. Celestial silver is a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's nice. So, for example, smite can be cast on a weapon, and it's blessed it becomes a blessed silver weapon for the duration. Extremely useful against vampires, among other things. Yeah.
So if you're heading out to Old Mexico, brave enough to go down to Southern Arizona way, down out my way on Rift's Earth, trust me, you're going to want to bless everything, including the front bumper of anything that you're driving, with celestial silver.
And you would think if you were a vampire, you would be smart enough to go someplace where it's like dark for 6 months of the year. Arizona does not sound like the place. It's sunny all the time. Why would you want to be there as a vampire? That would suck. Well,
if you look up the vampire class or vampires in Rifts, I believe vampires in Rifts can go out into the sunlight. Now, I'm going to have to do some research on that one. Give me a second, because I'm not, my mind's just going right now.
That's all right.
It's saying ICRPG Worlds, ICRPG Worlds, ICRPG Worlds. Talk about ICRPG Worlds some more.
What is the frickin' vampire show where they can go out in the sun and they sparkle like gold? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that's me and my wife used to watch that all the time. Gosh darn it.
Mine too. Anyways, screw those stupid vampires. Courage. Ongoing beneficial powers grant the recipient +2 on spirit checks against fear and intimidation for an increase of only 1 PPE, and it lasts the duration of the power, which is pretty sweet. They got Gift of Life. What does this one do here?
+2 to your faith roll for healing or greater healing, but you gain a fatigue level, which can only be restored with an hour of rest. So an ability called Succor can't restore any of that fatigue for you. So you're pretty much giving up a little of your own energy to be able to heal someone. And you can add this as a trapping onto a spell.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because we're still in the trapping section. Holy Presence.
Right. These are the abilities of the mystic that they can do. They can alter their spells to be able to like give the gift of life. So you can add on more points to the faith roll whenever you're rolling for healing or greater healing if you want to put your own fatigue into it.
Yeah, that's cool. They got Holy Presence, which is a beneficial power with a duration cast by the mystic on herself. You get charisma bonuses, intimidation bonuses, and you're surrounded by a holy aura. So that's cool.
Yeah, this is the sparkle.
Yeah,
it's the vampire sparkle, but in the holy presence, the same difference. Yeah, the glow makes them easier to see and to be targeted. So anytime anyone attacks them, you're going to get a +2 to attack them, or anytime anyone has to make a notice roll against them. It's great to have the holy presence about you, and to be glowing and sparkling, but then you stick out like a sore thumb in the middle of a crowd.
I would be maybe throwing in something else. The +2 on intimidation would be pretty good if you're going to do tricks and stuff like that. That would make, as a glowing sort of holy warrior, that would be pretty sweet. What's the next one?
Yeah, I had someone use this one time when we were in a game. Someone was using that. They were in an old west town, just a rundown, broken down town, and there was a bunch of refugees hiding out in it, and nobody wanted to leave because they were so scared of the coalition. So the mystic, gathered all the people together, started talking to people, bringing them out in the middle of the street, and got a crowd going. And he cast this spell, and while he was giving the speech, right, look, people, you need to get out of this town or you're going to get run down by the coalition because they're coming. He used the spell, got the charisma bonus. He made his skill roll, and everybody believed him. And then later on, because it was still the charisma spell was still going on, he had talked to a lot of the leaders of the community, and they ended up voting him for mayor. So it has its benefits. Unfortunately, when the coalition came looking, they wanted to know who the mayor of the town was, and everybody pointed to him. So we kind of used it against him. So, but it really makes a big difference, especially on whether you're doing intimidation checks or you're doing charm or you're doing something where you're trying to convince someone and you have that +2 to charisma. A lot of people think +2 and +4 is not a lot. It's not a big bonus because they're coming from D&D where +2 it's a good bonus, but it's usually not enough to really push you in there. Well, when you're talking about Savage Worlds and you need a target number of 4 on most things, +2 is huge. You're halfway there. You only need to roll a 2 or higher on the die. But as it gets more difficult, as you get penalties, that could easily take a -2 penalty off because you walk in big black, ugly knight armor and they don't realize who you are. So it kind of negates those penalties for you, but you can really make it work for you. Just like anything else in Rifts, I said it 100 times, you have to be creative on how you produce those characters, how you produce those powers. And then as a GM, you have to be a little bit more creative to be able to use it against them, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Holy Ward. For a beneficial power with a duration cast on someone, the caster forgoes the usual raise effect in place of granting arcane resistance for the duration. Arcane resistance for the duration. Let's do a little Control F and see if we can't find out what that does.
Gotta love the search feature on a PDF, isn't it? It's great. And you know how long that would take to open in the book and find that word?
Yep. You get a armor 2 versus magic and +2 to resist powers. So any kind of spells that are cast on you, your armor goes up and you get extra resistances versus magic. So that's really actually quite handy.
Yeah, so not only are you casting your Armor of Ithon spell to be able to give yourself, magical defense armor or a magical shield, but you also want to cast Holy Ward on yourself because that gives you your arcane resistance against all the magic. So, you can see where this is headed, right? You have a magical sword. You have abilities to be able to use the sword in combat. The sword can have magic, could be a Techno-Wizard sword that flames upon command. So you use your power points for that. You cast Holy Ward and Holy Presence on yourself. Or courage, and you go and hunt down that big bad demon that just came through a rifts that is chaos incarnate, and you're going to be the point man on that whole deal because you're going to be the only one that's probably going to be able to not only take the hits but do the damage. So classic in my games, most of the time the mystics are classic paladins. They don't necessarily wear armor. They could be priests, like you said in your example earlier. You get the top part of your head shaved and you're in brown robes or whatever. But get them into a fight, and next thing you know, that's the guy that you want to stand next to because he can heal you, he can protect you, he can defend against the most evils or chaos, and he's probably going to be the only one that's going to be able to hit.
What's the last one in this group, Victor?
The last one is Awesome Soul Blast. This is a direct damage power, so it increases the base cost of direct damage powers by 2 PPE. And you're thinking, well, that's not so good because that means it makes it harder for me to cast a spell or it costs more points. But It allows you to ignore all physical armor, including power and robot armor. Think about that for a minute.
I was.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Right? A bolt, exactly. You just cast the bolt spell, add 2 power points to it to make it a soul blast, and it could shoot from your hand like a flaming skull or whatever. It'll go through power armor and inflicts damage to the target. Now, the target do get to add half their spirit to their toughness when they determine the damage effect. So you're going to do more damage to them, but they're going to get a little bit of a bonus there, so it's not a total loss.
Hit them in the mind. That's what you do. That's what Soul Blast should be called. hit him in the soul.
Hit him where it hurts.
A beautiful mind. What do we got putting in here? Opening up the spirit seems to open up the mind for mystics who are also minor psionicists. Nice.
Yes. So in addition to the arcane background miracles, they get arcane background psionics in addition to that. So not only do you have a long laundry list of magical powers that you can use, you also get access to all of the psionic powers.
That's wicked. It says that you can go up to major psionics, but you can't take master. But I mean, even
correct.
Still,
only the mind melter can take a master psionic edge, and that's what makes the mind melter. But major psionics is still pretty badass. I mean, you get a lot of the mega powers through that.
Yeah, no kidding. Mystic abilities and bonuses.
Yeah, this is where it gets good. Mystics are often the glue that puts the group together. You know, like I said, they're the paladins and the clerics, the example like you gave before. But a lot of their stuff, I mean, they get a whole slew of bonuses here. Let's start right at the top. Arcane background miracles. So you begin with 4 powers, very similar to all the other magic characters, 15 PPE, nothing out of the ordinary. You also get the mysticism skill at a D8, which is just like spellcasting for a magic user. And it counts as faith for all other edge requirements. So anytime you pick an edge that requires faith as a requirement, the arcane background miracles automatically allows you to select that as one of your edges. And I believe if you look in the rulebook, there's quite a few.
Coolness. Arcane background psionics. As a minor psionic, the mystic begins with 3 powers and 10 ISPs, and he also has beginning psionic skill of D6. You're getting 7 powers out of the gate.
And you have 2 different power pools to worry about. 10 ISP for your psionics and 15 PPE for your magic. So you're literally pulling powers and points from 2 different places. This is a starting character. Has 2 skills, a D6 and a D8, and you get 2 pools, and you have they give you, we've talked about the Master Psionic, I think, and we've talked about the Leyline Wizard, and there's just spell after spell after spell after spell.
Yeah, fantastic. So this cosmic confluence that comes up next, it says not only do mystics enjoy the unique capacity to possess 2 arcane backgrounds, but you're able to interchange your ISP and PPE. So you can switch them back.
Exactly. You're seeing what I'm seeing, right? The 2 pools, this is crazy. The 2 pools of 10 ISP and 15 PPE now join into one pool, and you can share them interchangeably between the 2 different types of powers. So your character starts with 25 PPE.
I'm just trying to read what the math says on this. So you can sacrifice 2 for 1.
Correct. So you can take 2 ISP points from your psionic pool and make it into 1 PPE pool. So there is a penalty. It's not a straight 1-for-1 crossover. It still gives you a slew of points to be able to use for all of your powers.
And one of the beautiful parts about Savage Worlds too is how quickly your magic powers come back. You're getting like a point back an hour. So you know what I mean? Like a quick ride back to town that takes a couple hours and you're almost like back fully recharged. Masters of Magic is next. So they gain the Masters of Magic edge, gaining mega powers for all known powers. I love mega powers, man. You get that handful of dice going on there. That's sweet. They also get rapid recharge. So you're getting extra PPP back all the time through the rapid recharge edge. What
more do you want? Not only you're a big PPE battery, but you get Masters of Magic edge, and there you go. Mega powers all the time.
Mm-hmm. What's the Mystic Awareness do for you?
Okay, so Mystic Awareness is cool. Mystic Awareness, you get like ESP, extrasensory perception, and it grants you the following edges: alert and danger sense edges. Alertness, I'm sorry, is what it's called in the book, and danger sense. And not only do you get those 2, you get to detect arcana at will, which costs you nothing. And not only does it cost you nothing, it's a free action, so you can detect magic items anywhere and everywhere all the time.
Alertness gives you +2 to notice. Danger sense. Notice at -2 to detect surprise, attacks, and danger. So anytime somebody's going to leap out of the bush and you might want to go into, say, like a surprise roll or a surprise round,
Right.
they get a -2 to their roll against you because you have that innate danger sense, which is super helpful.
You get a +2 to your roll because of the alertness edge. So not
Yep.
only is it harder for them to surprise you, but you are more than likely going to see it coming. And if it's magical, all it has to be is within your line of sight, and you'll be able to detect whether or not it's a magical spell, a magical creature, whatever. Plus, on top of that, if you go a little bit further into mystical awareness, with a simple notice check and line of sight, you can sense powerful supernatural beings. So if you see something come through the rift, or you don't see it come through the rift and it comes around a mountain, around a corner, through the trees or whatever, you can know automatically whether or not it's going to be a supernatural creature. Usually the demons, dragons, all of those large mystical creatures, those you're going to know right away what it is.
Yeah, we went over Detect Conceal Arcana in one of the last episodes. It allows a character to sense supernatural persons, objects, or effects within sight. So you want to look for some kind of magic item or something. That's what this is. That's what this spell is. Magic item, magic person, anything that has to do with magic is basically Detect Conceal Arcana. That is
and you get to do it at will, at no PPE. That's just crazy.
Super useful spell. So spiritual, that was mystical awareness. Spiritual channel, constantly in contact with the spirits. I kind of like this, and possibly divine messengers of his faith. A mystic can use the divination power without using ISP or PPE. What happens? He's allowed to talk to...
Yeah, he can talk to the spirits. He can talk to the astral realm. He can, use his faith to give him guidance of where he needs to go. So he makes a vigor roll to resist gaining a level of fatigue whenever he does that. And then each subsequent use of the power imposes a -1 cumulative penalty on his vigor check until he gets a full night's rest. So, talking to the spirits and talking to the ghosts, probably not a good thing, and it really wears you out quickly. The worst that can happen is that you pass out, but because of the fatigue levels start to gain up on you. But usually a good night's rest, you'll be able to clear that out. It also goes on to say the fatigue levels gained from spiritual channel can only be recovered with rest. So abilities like Succor and other stuff cannot restore those.
You need a solid 8.
Mystics have access to communion, but activate it normally with 10 PPE.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to look that up. Communion means that you're able to talk to the gods, I believe.
Oh, that would be sweet. You're going to need a solid 8 hours rest to recover from that fatigue. One of the cool parts about this is, say your players, or you're DMing the game and your players kind of come to, maybe they get stumped or something like that. Yeah. This is where this guy comes in handy. It's like, here's like a hint or something like that. The spirit pops in if they can channel this energy. And, if your players are kind of like, wow, I don't know what to do now, here you go. Here's your perfect opportunity for this guy to come in and get the story back on track, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I could just totally see one of the players playing a Southern Baptist preacher that, has a silver 6-shooter, and he's saying, God has spoken, and he says we need to go in this direction, or we need to question this person. And how do you know that? I had spiritual channel. The gods told me that, and you just go right with it. And if you have players like that can really role play and get that out there, half the time you don't even need a question. Just go with it. Just roll with the story. That's totally awesome though, because that supports it in game mechanics on how you can do it. That's pretty neat. It does wear them out a little though. They do have to make that vigor roll to resist gaining a level of fatigue.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of penalties. You couldn't just sit down and
It's always give and take. Savage Worlds is always give and take. Nothing's for free, and especially in Rifts, you almost have to have chips to keep up with the +1, -2, +2, +3, +1, and +10, +8. That's a 2 bonus. Go. I've had to get out the calculator a few times to be able to do that.
I thought you were talking like have a bag of potato chips. Then you just
you could use that too. I meant poker chips, but he hasn't eaten, folks.
I'm on a diet, man. I got a little heavy, so mystic complications.
You're still beautiful, man.
Well, the reason you can't tell is because I'm flat on the screen. That's why.
Oh, that's why. Oh, okay.
The path of mystics is not an easy one, hated by powerful forces and beholden to the very spiritual powers that grant his gifts. The mystic must maintain strong ethnic and humane behaviors. in the face of dangerous, violent world.
We were just talking about the give and take, man. Here's the take. You know, all those abilities and bonuses aren't for free. It starts out with arcane duality. Now, this one's really unique to the class because you have to be careful whenever you take a background edge. You have to make sure that you choose. Whenever you take a power edge, you have to choose whether it applies to magic or psionics. You can't have the edge apply to both types of powers. So if you want the edge to apply to both, you have to take 2 edges separately. So there is a cost to having that power.
Yeah. Inside of Savage Worlds, when you level up, you can take an edge. That's what they're talking about, the arcane background edge. I'm thinking what they might have meant is new power. Does that make sense? Because every time you level up in Rifts, you can take the new power edge, and that gives you access to a new spell. What they're trying to get at basically is that you can take a new power, but you need to choose which slot it's going to go into, psionics, or if it's just going to go into your arcane background.
And there's some edges that apply to arcane backgrounds, and it doesn't specify whether it has to be a mystical arcane background or a psionic arcane background. It just says arcane background edge. They give an example here in the book. It talks about the PowerPoints edge. Whenever you take the PowerPoints edge, it gives you bonus points in your PowerPoint pool in the Savage Worlds rulebook. But in Savage Rifts, there's 2 different types of pools, PPE and ISP. So when you take the PowerPoints edge, you can only gain PPE with 1, and you have to choose either PPE or ISP. In order to have the bonus to, each one, you have to take the PowerPoint's edge twice, 1 for PPE and 1 for ISP. So you'll have to specify it. So there's edges that'll modify your powers or the abilities that you can do. And you have to specify which one. But also, if you are taking an extra power edge, you have to specify in that same ruling. You have to specify whether that extra power is going to be a psionic power or whether it's going to be a magic power, arcane power.
Yeah, that's. I was just misthinking about the way that it works. Arcane duality basically says when you want to take more power points, because you can do that when you level up, you can get more power.
Right.
You have to choose where it goes. It's not about taking new spells. Right. It's about
so if you went up in 1 rank and you got an edge and you wanted to take PowerPoint's edge to get more power points, okay, what kind of power points do you want, ISP or PPE?
Yeah.
Well, I want both. Well, you can't. You only get 1 edge. And then the next time you level up, you go into the heroic class or whatever, you're going to get another edge. Well, what do you want? I want more PPE. Well, which one, ISP or PPE? Oh, damn. Do you want to double up in arcane, or do you want to double up in ISP, or do you want to split the 2 and have a little bit more in each? Again, it keeps you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to your powers because you can use from 2 different pools, but it kind of keeps that cap, right? It keeps you from going into, awesome sauce levels with Rifts.
Cybernetics. Mystics suffer the same penalties from cybernetics as any other arcane character. I find that so many cybernetics affects negatively so many of these classes. I'm curious to know, I should know this, but if you went like full cybernetics and just said screw the rest, you could be pretty cool too, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could. And believe it or not, if you went full there is a limitation in the rule books for Palladium, and I'm not sure if it got transferred over into the Tommorow Legion's handbook or not, but it does say in Palladium Rifts, if you go to, say, 100% total conversion Borg, you're a total conversion cyborg, you lose your magical powers, period. End of story. There's no going back. And once you go there, you cannot go back and become human again and get your magic powers back. It doesn't work that way. In the Savage Worlds version, I believe you can take on enough cybernetics to still be partially human, like 10% or so, like your, little bit of flesh in your brain kind of thing, almost a total conversion. But for you to be able to keep your magic ability, I don't know, the penalties will be like -12 for every roll. So even if you're rolling a 12-sided, you would have to ace it and still beat a 4 on 2 12s, you know what I mean, in order to be able to beat the penalty and just cast a regular spell. So it would be very unlikely, but that doesn't mean it's still not possible.
I think we're going to have to
quote me on that. I think that's how it goes, but I haven't gotten that far yet, to figure that out, of whether or not a mystic, because most of the magic classes or most of the characters with arcane backgrounds, they don't even bother taking the cybernetics because they're like, I don't want a -4 to my spellcasting roll. I don't care if I have a D12 in my spellcasting. I still don't want a -4 because even on a bright day and a sunny afternoon on an open plain with no problems, no issues, you've had full night's sleep, you still get a -4 because you have one small piece of cybernetics on you.
I think
That's tough.
I think it's safe to say at this point, 11 episodes into the Savage Rifters podcast, it's pretty safe to say don't quote us on anything. I was just going back to,
gentlemen, believe it or not, we are fans, but we are human. We do make mistakes, and we've got a few of the local village celebrities from the Google Plus page keeping an eye on tabs on that. So, guys, if you guys find that out or find out anything different, do some research. Let us know. Put it up on the Google Plus page. We're not the only ones talking about rifts. Everybody loves to play the game on that particular board. So let us know what you guys find out. I would be really interested to figure out what the maximum penalty you can take as a mystic or any one of the masters of magic from cybernetics, how far you can take it. Because I think like if you take all 6 points of strain, I think it's a -2 for every point. So it's a -12 total. Yeah, that would just suck.
This one here in cybernetics says, except for the disruption effects, 2 skills, you get -1 to both. So you're gonna take a hit to your mysticism and psionic skills per point of strain.
Exactly. Yeah, per point of strain. That's what it says. Oh, no, that would suck. No matter what you do.
Nards.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Enemies. Why? I just want to know why. Mystics are equally illegal and reviled in the Coalition and the True Federation of Magic.
So there is a hit list for the Coalition. They have a priority list. Demons, evil giant beings from the rifts is 1. Dragons is number 2. Leyline walkers is number 3. And mystics is floating right around there with mind melters, maybe 4 and 5.
Man, this just seems like, up there. Yeah, most of the classes in this game, I just feel like you would get sniped dead in so often. Like, you know what I mean?
Are you kidding me? Special Forces have patches from the Coalition for how many they've killed of each different type of hit list. I mean, it's ridiculous. And not only do you have to worry about the Coalition, you also have to worry about the True Federation of Magic. They're considered equally illegal and reviled by the True Federation of Magic. And honestly, I think that is, I don't recall the exact lore behind it, but I think it's because they're afraid. They're afraid that mystics are going to be able to tell the type of magic that the True Federation of Magic is using and the character and the power that they've really gotten to. I think a true mystic would be able to not only sense that negative energy and that power that they're using, but see how evil all of the True Federation really is, because it looks real pretty and they have lots of fun little shiny magical things that they can do. But at the end of the day, the True Federation of Magic, in my opinion, is just as bad as the Coalition.
Yeah. Last one is higher standard. So for no added benefit, you got to take a hindrance. And this hindrance represents your spiritual path and your cosmological belief system. So it's kind of like Code of Honor, Major Pacifist, Major Vow. Sure. You got to be held or be beholden to some kind of personal standards and stuff like that. Or
so there's your Code of Honor for your Paladin, right? Or your Cleric with a Major Vow or a Major Pacifist.
Yeah, exactly. Starting gear, and we're done. We ripped right through this one. Leyline Walker armor, Huntsman lightweight personal armor, the old, the standard. Yep, the NG-33 laser pistol.
Yep. A survival pack for the NGS2, and there's your money.
And a bunch of credits. One of the nice parts about this Savage Rifters or the Savage Rifts books too is for every class they put in this one section up here. This one's called To Survive and Thrive, and this is how little hints on how to play this character. So it says that most spellcasters and power users forget to use your trapping. So if you're going to play the Mystic, make sure you pick your trapping, especially where your unique trappings are concerned.
Right.
The combination of magic and psionics is exceptional. Hells yeah, it is. But it takes planning to get the most out of this capability. So the combat potential can be devastating if played smartly.
Yeah, I think that's the toughest thing that people, when they look at the Mystic, they're like, oh, Cleric, I don't want to play a healer or a buffer. But you don't realize the potential in the magic system, not only of Savage Rifts, but of all the lore of Palladium, of all the different spells that they have available to them. For you to be able to combine your psionic powers with your magical arcane abilities and just the regular powers of a mystic, it takes some work. I mean, it really does take some planning, because you can do some really crazy, unique stuff, especially as you start gaining levels and you can do like multiple actions at one time. Because people don't realize in Savage Worlds, which is something you can't do in other game systems, in Savage Worlds, you can cast 2 different spells in the same turn. You just take the multi-action penalty. So if you want to take Alt, Leyline Walker, so to speak, but a Mystic is unique because a Mystic can cast a psionic power and an arcane power in the same turn with the -2 action penalty, just like they would if you were any other magic using character. And that's very unique because there's some unique combinations that most arcane background characters can't do because they can't mix the two. And you have the powers to be able to do either or.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you also have the knowledge and spiritual connections unlike anyone else. It says be certain to make the most of these in your role playing. Those are like super good tips, man.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Three little tips right there to really turn the tides on what a mystic is. Again, I'll go back to the Southern Baptist preacher gunslinger, and he could say, you know, the spirit of my dead wife is telling me that the boy in the well is actually a demon and we need to kill him. And everybody's looking at him going, are you crazy? Are you sure that's what's really happening? And he sees it and making everybody believe him and go through that whole story. That's a whole adventure in and of itself right there. I handed that one out to everybody, but I've seen it happen. It's stories like that that make the Rifts game really unique because only in that game could you run something like that.
That's cool. All right, well, we blasted through the Mystic. That was pretty quick. We're 42 minutes into this bad boy. What do you say we hit the Techno Wizard and do our first duel of the Savage Rifters? Be our
Miracles
first.
happen. Oh man, but the Techno Wizard is so hard, dude.
Is it?
I have to study for this one. Yeah, because think about it, okay? You get all the arcane background stuff, and then you get all of the mechanical fighting, power armor, magic item, magic weapon stuff. Then you have to do all the math and all the powers and the PPE batteries. And we don't even go into magical power armor or magical powered vehicles yet, or vehicle weapons. And that's just the top of the tip of the iceberg there. Really, like I have to come up with a couple of good examples because people have really screwed this up. When it comes to like putting powers together and trapping, have you not seen the cheat sheet that I wrote for Techno Wizards?
No, there's one. It's on the G Plus, I'm sure.
It's like an 8.5 by 11 page of notes, and the entire thing is crammed chock full of take this, minus this, plus this, add these abilities, minus your X plus 3 times 3, give me your fourth child, take your social security number, subtract that from your date of birth. I mean, it's like doing taxes. It's crazy. And I had to write it only because I couldn't figure it out. I was really good at it in Palladium Rifts, but I could not figure it out in Savage Worlds. It was driving me nuts.
Oh, wow. It's 2 pages. So it doesn't seem like it would be that complicated. Like at first glance, the Techno Wizard's basically 2 pages.
This one's deep. This one's
deep.
It
is, eh?
Because you can because you can take like, okay, so you have a Wilkes laser pistol, right? A 447 laser pistol, and it runs off of a energy clip. You can take a Wilkes 447 laser pistol, take out the clip, change it with a crystal battery, put PPE points in it from your own pool, cast bolt on it, make the bolt permanent. If you're high enough level, you can give it an additional like armor piercing or whatever and change the stats to it. And then you can not only change the trapping to it, so it can be instead of a lightning bolt spell, it can be a fireball bolt spell. Dude, it gets crazy after that. And that's just the basics. That's just a basic pistol shot. I mean, you get like surfboards that run off of air elemental spell that you capture in the board, and then you use your own energy. Then you have to put a PPE battery on it, and how many points per turn, and how much is that going to cost you to build, and how much of your own PPE items is that going to cost you to build. And I know better. If we're not careful and we don't do it correctly, people are going to be like, oh no, he got that wrong. No, that's too much PPE. Oh, he didn't roll this roll. It's like, man,
they're going to be
serious. Like I have to get a chart out for that one to be able to do it.
They're going to be throwing virtual rocks at us online.
And they already do. They're emailing us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me look at this. Hold on. I'm gonna.
That's cool. We can brush up and pump this one out next week. That's not a problem. We could just put out this short episode.
I just don't want to get that one wrong because there's a lot of people that play the Techno Wizard. Believe it or not, for whatever reason, it's a really popular. It's a really popular class, at least on my side of the world. I don't know if you've seen a lot of guys do that.
I've played a lot of Deadlands, and this arcane background weird science is freaking top notch in Deadlands. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, you could make a belt buckle that you press a button and boosh, this barrier appears around you, increasing your armor level. All sorts of weird, cool gizmos that you can break. Everything in Deadlands runs off ghost rock and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a weird science. It's almost, I don't know how to, it's weirdly like my favorite one of all, the weird science background, making devices. All right, well, we're going to put a pin in that one then, and you can catch us next week where we're going to brush up on the Techno Wizard. Actually, I think I'll brush up on it too and do some reading of this so that I know ahead of time. Then I'll have some serious questions for you, so you better bring your calculator to the next show.
Oh yeah, I found the template. I'm gonna start using that here so we can talk about it a little bit more. Yeah, honestly, you do, man, because like not only are they great wizards, right? And they can use lots of little powers and lots of different things they can do, but they can alter the powers to change the range, the duration, the types of abilities, the area of effect and stuff. And it takes PPE to recharge a battery, and that battery can only hold so much. So how much power does that to cast the spell? Like, say, for example, you take a vehicle laser cannon that, is a Techno Wizard device. Okay, it's so big it needs to be powered on a vehicle. Is it powered by the vehicle or by the PPE battery? No, the PPE battery. So how do you recharge it when you run out of energy? Because it only holds like 15 PPE and it takes 2 to fire it. So you can only fire it like 3 or 4 times before you're out of power. Well, the Techno Wizard can use his own energy to refill the PPE battery. So what happens when the Techno Wizard runs out of? And that's just the recharge of a laser cannon on a vehicle. I mean, that's a 30-minute conversation in and of itself right there.
Cool. Into the fray.
Whoa, bloody hell. Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes? Oh, please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please, can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Right, come on back through the rifts there. Fine. Anyhow.
Well, you know what that means. That's the sound of a rift.
Mm-hmm. That is. The sweet sound of that rift opening means it's time to pack up and portal out.
I don't want to. I want to stay here.
We got so much more to talk about, but we're going to do it off air because there's just things that we're going to do. Show notes, Victor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, no worries. You can reach us at murderhoboshow@gmail.com or get us on Twitter if you can get it under 140 characters at the Murder Hobo Show, or of course over at the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show under the Nerds International banner, or you can reach out to myself directly at the Google Plus Savage Rifts page. You can find me under Victor Diaz, and that community is one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. And if you've been following me on Google Plus, I've been part of quite a few over the years. So yeah, come check us out.
Mm-hmm. Be sure to check out the newest podcast on Nerds International, which is called Finding the Narrative with Chris Holmes and Tony Fanny Pack. Tony Fanny Pack. That's his literal name. Maybe not. Maybe his name's Tony.
I bet you he was beat as a kid.
No, he's kind of a scary kind of a fellow, and I think if you got under his on his bad side, he could probably twist you up into a pretzel pretty good. That said. Yeah, they put out a podcast all about Genesis. They're going to try and teach you how to play the new narrative dice system, just like the Star Wars. You roll them chicken bones, Tony and Chris. Anyways, you can find it on the Nerds International. Head over to the Google Plus page. Check out the Nerds International. There's a ton of new shows. We got Gaming Ronan on there. He's got a new blog out. I got to look into some of that stuff when I get some time. But with ICRPG out and some of the other stuff. Oh, I also run a YouTube page. I got a website there where I put up a bunch of stuff. If you want to see some cool stuff about Tabletop Simulator, head over there and check it out. Anything else you want to bring up, mention, throw out there, Victor?
Lots of fun stuff happening in the Palladium Books weekly update. If you guys want to go down to the Palladium Books website, palladiumbooks.com, the one and only Kevin Simbita, he's put out an update, and he says that Palladium's Rifts Sovietsky is finally going into typesetting and the layout stage, so glad to see that. For those of you who have not seen it, you need to go check out The Secret of the Atlanteans. It's, quote, I have to say that this is an outstanding book. End quote, by Mr. Simbita himself. He says it's packed with page after page of adventures, OCCs, DBs, cyborgs, all that other stuff. You also want to take a look at some of the freelance material for Rifts Disavowed, and I think Rifts Living Nowhere. If you don't know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, take out the Palladium forums. Go on to palladiumbooks.com. If you're a big Rifter like I am, you need to go get caught up, because I think they just added about 300 pages of content for us to be able to play for the next 10 years. So awesome stuff going on, man. Awesome stuff. Rifter number 79 is available online. You can pick it up or order it from the website. If you guys want to check out, it's for me, the Rifter is a once a quarter, I believe, magazine that they put together. And Kevin Simbidi and the whole team over at Palladium Riffs. They do a great job at putting together everybody's different crazy ideas from Palladium Fantasy RPG, stuff from Rifter, stuff from all the different games and all the different books that make up the Palladium universe. Go check it out, palladiumbooks.com.
Cool. Did you say that was episode 25 or 75? Because I think I saw something about it.
It was Rifter number 79 is available, and I believe 80 is also.
That's cool.
80 must have just come out.
Yeah, I did see something about it the other day floating around on the boards. So yeah, all right, well, tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show, and we will be tackling more on the character section of the Player's Guide. There's a lot of material to cover in this amazing universal setting. Next time's the Techno Wizard. Pew, pew, pew!
Watch where you point that thing.
Sorry, I'll pull my pants back up. The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2017, all rights reserved.